All right, everyone, get ready because today we are going deep, deep into this idea of prophetic destiny.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is, right. And I know
Intense.
it is. It's intense. It can kind of sound,
Sounds mystical, right?
yeah, almost a little,
A little out there.
yeah, a little out there, but we're going to bring it down to earth today. We have this sermon that we're diving into, and the whole point of it is this idea of how do you uncover and then actually fulfill, like live out your unique purpose.
That's the question, isn't it?
It is the question.
Right.
And what I think is so interesting about this sermon is that it uses a lot of examples from the Bible
It does.
to really show how this has like always been a thing, like back in the day.
Timeless.
Yeah, this concept of destiny.
Yeah, it's not new.
Not a new idea.
Not a new idea at all.
So we're going to look at those examples, but we're also going to look at like, how does this apply to us today? What are the practical things that we can do to actually understand what our purpose is?
Because we want to live it out.
Yeah.
We don't just want to know about it.
Exactly, yeah. We want this to be like useful, helpful information.
Exactly.
So, to kick things off, this sermon starts with a really bold statement.
Okay, lay it on me.
It basically says that God has a specific plan for each of us.
Wow. Okay, so right off the bat, diving right in.
Diving right in, no messing around.
Big stuff.
Yeah. So, it's not just that, like, in general, there's some vague plan out there, but that there's actually a plan, like, just for you, just for me, just for every single person listening.
So we're not just wandering around aimlessly.
No, not according to the sermon.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and it goes even further,
No,
actually.
I'm really curious, even further than that.
Yeah, like, hold on tight, because it suggests that even things that seem totally outside of our control, like where we were born,
Okay.
the family we were born into,
Oh, yeah.
even our birth date,
That's interesting.
all of those things, it suggests, are actually orchestrated as part of this bigger plan.
So there's a reason behind all of it.
Yeah, a purpose behind, like, all the circumstances, even the ones that we didn't choose.
Now that makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does.
About free will and all the choices we think we make.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder how much is actually up to us.
Right, like, how much control do we actually have?
Big questions.
Big questions. I mean, I have to admit, there are days when I think, well, maybe I could have chosen a slightly less,
Oh, I hear you. Some days I'd love to pick my family members.
Exactly right. But the idea that there's, like, a deeper purpose behind all of it, even those things that might make us, scratch our heads sometimes.
There's got to be a reason.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you really think about it.
It really is. So if we're all part of this intricate plan, this destiny thing,
Yeah.
where does someone like Jesus fit into all of this?
Yeah.
How does the sermon address that?
Oh, this is where it gets really fascinating. The sermon actually points to a very specific moment in the Bible.
Okay, give me the chapter and verse.
It's Luke chapter 4, verses 17 to 21. So picture this. Jesus is in the synagogue,
All right.
and he's reading from the scroll of Isaiah. But he doesn't just pick a random passage. He lands on verse 18 and essentially says, this is it. This is why I'm here. His purpose, his mission, literally written down beforehand.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking destiny written as ink.
Yeah, like no ambiguity there. It's almost like, you open up a fortune cookie and it says, this is your purpose, but like on a cosmic scale.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Even knowing the whole Jesus story, to think of his destiny being revealed in such a concrete way, it adds this whole other layer to how we see his choices and actions.
Doesn't it? It's like he knew exactly what he was supposed to do right from the start.
And the sermon uses this example to illustrate a really key point. Even Jesus, fulfilling this divine mission, had this preordained path, this destiny laid out before him.
Okay, but that's Jesus, right? I mean, he's kind of in a different category than us mere mortals. Like, there's no ancient scroll with my name on it tucked away somewhere, is there?
Probably not.
So if we don't have that kind of clear-cut revelation, how are we supposed to even begin to understand our own prophetic destiny?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And thankfully, the sermon doesn't leave us hanging. It actually offers some practical ways to start uncovering that purpose, even without a personalized scroll.
Okay, tell me more because I'm all ears.
Well, it encourages us to start by digging into Scripture, but not just reading it passively,
Yeah.
like skimming a news article,
Right.
but really seeking to recognize ourselves within those stories, to identify with certain characters or situations, and see how those ancient narratives might be echoing in our own lives.
Oh, I get that. There have definitely been times when I've been reading a passage or a story, and it just hits me differently. Like, it's speaking directly to my current struggles or maybe to my hopes and dreams.
Right, those moments where it's like, wait a minute, this is about me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like a light bulb moment. And the sermon seems to be saying those moments are worth paying attention to.
Absolutely. Those moments of resonance can be incredibly powerful, and it's not just about what we read, it's also about recognizing what we might call special revelations. Think dreams, visions, even those times when someone says something seemingly random and it just sticks with you, like it has a deeper meaning.
Hold on. Are we talking about those vivid dreams that feel super symbolic, the kind you can't shake off even after you wake up? Because I've had a few of those, and they definitely leave me wondering if there's something more to them.
Precisely. Those can be subtle signs pointing you towards your purpose. But of course, alongside these more dramatic instances, there's the traditional path, persistent prayer and reflection. The sermon suggests that by carving out dedicated time to connect with God, to really listen, your true path will gradually become clearer.
So it's not necessarily about a lightning bolt of revelation, but more of a gentle unfolding, like a puzzle coming together piece by piece.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our understanding of our purpose evolves over time. It's a journey, not a destination.
Okay, I like that. But here's the question that I keep coming back to. Why does knowing our purpose even matter? Is it just about feeling good or fulfilled? Does it have, like, real-world consequences?
That's a great question, and one the sermon tackles head-on. It argues that understanding your destiny isn't just some feel-good concept. It's about stewardship, about not wasting the unique gifts and opportunities God has given you. It's about living a life of intention and purpose rather than just drifting along.
So it's about recognizing your strengths, your passions, and then using those to actually make a difference in the world. You know, for me, figuring out what I'm good at, and more importantly, what actually lights me up, has definitely led to more satisfaction in my work.
That's a perfect example of what the sermon is getting at. Knowing your purpose helps you align your choices with God's plan, allowing you to experience a deeper level of fulfillment and impact.
Okay, I don't know about you, but after that last segment, my brain is like buzzing with all the possibilities of this prophetic destiny idea.
It's a lot to take in, right?
It is, it's a lot. And it's all well and good to say that, like, everyone has a purpose.
Right.
But actually figuring out what that looks like in our own lives, that's the real challenge, isn't it?
It is, and the sermon doesn't leave us hanging there. It actually provides a framework for how this all unfolds.
Oh, good, because I need a framework.
We all do, right?
Yeah.
It suggests that God often reveals our purpose in stages.
Okay, so not all at once.
Not like this big sudden download of information,
Right.
but more like a puzzle gradually coming together over time, piece by piece.
Oh, I love that analogy. It takes a lot of pressure off.
Right.
I mean, who hasn't felt totally overwhelmed by the whole find your purpose mantra?
It can feel like a lot of pressure.
It can, but if it's more about, like, trusting the process and being open to those aha moments as they come along, that feels a lot more manageable, you know?
It does, and it's about recognizing that our understanding of our purpose evolves over time.
Mm.
And here's another key point from the sermon. Destiny isn't just about finding the perfect career or achieving some monumental goal.
Wait, so it's not about, like, becoming a doctor or writing a best-selling novel?
You're bigger than that.
Okay, then what is it about if it's not about those big achievements?
It's about the kind of person God is calling us to be. It's about character, about our values, about the impact we have on other people.
Okay, so it's more internal.
It is. It's about that inner transformation that then leads to external impact.
Now, that is a perspective shift.
It is.
So it's not about striving to become something we're not, but about allowing God to shape us into the best version of ourselves.
Exactly.
I can get behind that. I like that. But if we're talking about inner transformation, does the sermon address our limitations?
It does.
Like those times when we fall short, we make mistakes, we're just not perfect.
That's a crucial point. And the sermon acknowledges that we can't fulfill our destiny solely on our own strength.
Okay, because that's a relief to hear.
Yeah.
We need some help.
We do. We need God's grace. We need guidance. And let's be honest, we need a healthy dose of forgiveness along the way.
All of the above.
All of it. Because let's face it, we're not superheroes.
We are not, and we try really hard, but sometimes we
stumble.
We stumble.
We make bad decisions.
And sometimes it feels like we're just miles away from fulfilling any kind of grand purpose.
That's where the sermon's emphasis on discernment comes in.
Okay.
It's about being able to distinguish between our own desires and God's will. And honestly, that's not always easy.
You're telling me it's so easy to get those mixed up.
It really is, especially when our ego gets all tangled up in our ambitions.
Oh, yeah.
And we think we're on the right track, but maybe it's just our own agenda disguised as destiny.
That's a good point. So how do we untangle that mess?
The sermon suggests turning to those tried and true practices. Prayer, seeking wise counsel from people we trust, and taking a long, hard look at our motives.
Okay, so getting some outside perspective.
It can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Asking ourselves, are my choices driven by this genuine desire to serve God's purpose? Or am I more focused on personal gain or recognition?
So constantly checking in with ourselves, making sure our heart is truly aligned with God's will and not letting our ego take the wheel.
Exactly.
But even with the best intentions, we're bound to mess up, right?
Of course, we're human.
Yeah.
But here's the truly reassuring message from the sermon. Even when we make mistakes, even when we stray from the path, God's grace is always there to redirect us.
Okay, that's good to know.
Right.
Because I think we all have those moments where we feel totally lost or discouraged, like we've completely blown it.
We've all been there.
It's good to know we have a safety net, even if it's of the, divine variety.
Exactly. The sermon encourages us to view our lives as this ongoing journey of discovery and fulfillment, with God as our constant guide. And that journey inevitably involves setbacks. It involves course corrections.
Yeah.
It's about learning from our missteps, repenting when necessary, and always being open to God's restoration.
So even our failures can become part of the journey, a part of what shapes us and ultimately prepares us for what's ahead.
Beautifully put.
I like that. That's encouraging.
It is, and that sense of hope is at the heart of the sermon's message. It's not about being perfect, but about embracing the process of becoming who we are meant to be, with all its twists and turns, knowing that God is with us every step of the way.
Wow, this is such rich material. It's honestly making me rethink how I view my own life choices and the direction I'm heading in.
It's amazing how these ancient concepts can still have such a profound impact on our modern lives.
They really can, and I think that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. But before we get too carried away with the philosophical implications,
Right, we need to bring it back down to earth.
let's get practical. We're going to explore some concrete steps that we can take to actually start uncovering our own prophetic destiny after the break. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, this whole concept of prophetic destiny.
We have. It's a big topic.
It is a big topic, and I think for a lot of us, it can still feel a little,
Intangible.
intangible. Like, how do we actually put this into practice? How do we uncover what our purpose is?
You're right. It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another to actually live it out.
Exactly. So let's get down to brass tacks. Like, what are the concrete steps that we can take starting, today?
Well, the good news is the sermon doesn't leave us hanging. It actually gives us some really practical advice.
Okay, good, because I need that.
We all do. And one of the first things it emphasizes is this idea of paying attention to our natural inclinations, our passions, those things that genuinely light us up.
So we're talking about, those activities that we gravitate towards, the things we do even when no one's watching.
Exactly. The things that energize us, the things that make us feel alive.
Okay, so is the sermon saying that those could be clues to our purpose?
It is. It suggests that those natural leanings, those things that come easily to us, those things we're drawn to, might actually be reflections of the unique gifts and talents that God has woven into our very being.
It's like those things come naturally to us because they're part of who we were created to be.
Exactly, like it's in our DNA.
There's that saying, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Maybe that's part of what it means to live out our destiny,
I think so.
To find that sweet spot where our passions intersect with a need in the world.
I love that.
But the sermon also encourages us to look back, to reflect on our past experiences, both the good and the bad.
Our past shapes us.
It does.
It holds the keys to understanding our strengths, our weaknesses, those patterns that keep repeating, and maybe most importantly, the lessons we've learned along the way.
So what can we learn from, digging through our own personal history?
We can see how those experiences, both the triumphs and the struggles, might actually be pointing us toward our purpose, even if we didn't realize it at the time.
It's like connecting the dots.
Exactly.
Those seemingly random events might actually be weaving a tapestry.
Preparing us for something we can't quite see yet.
That's a good way to put it.
But that becomes clear as we gain more perspective.
Okay, so we've got our natural inclinations, our past experiences. Anything else we should be taking notes on?
The sermon also highlights the value of seeking guidance from people who have walked the path before us.
Mentors.
Mentors, trusted advisors, spiritual guides.
People who have some wisdom to share.
Exactly. People who can offer a different perspective based on their own journeys.
Because sometimes we're just too close to the situation to see it clearly, right?
Absolutely. And having people who believe in us, who can see our potential even when we doubt ourselves, and who can offer course correction when we need it, that's invaluable.
It's like having a personal cheering section, but also someone to give us a reality check when we need it.
Exactly.
I like that balance.
We need both.
We do. So we've got these external sources of guidance, but ultimately the sermon points us back to the most important connection, right?
Our relationship with God.
That's right. It emphasizes the importance of prayer, of seeking guidance directly from the source.
There's nothing quite like taking it straight to the top.
Right. Like having a direct line to the ultimate source of wisdom and direction.
Exactly.
So is there anything the sermon suggests to help us be more receptive to those messages? You know, those insights we might receive through prayer?
It recommends practices like journaling, meditation, even keeping a dream log.
Oh, to track those interesting dreams.
Exactly, to capture those moments of insight or revelation.
Because sometimes those come and go so quickly, it's hard to remember them.
They do. So it's about being intentional, about noticing those subtle nudges, those whispers of guidance.
So creating space for our purpose to become clearer.
Exactly. But here's a crucial point. It's not enough to just sit back and wait for a sign.
We have to do something.
We do. The sermon encourages us to take action, to step out in faith, even when we don't have all the answers.
So it's about taking those insights that we've gleaned, those passions that we've identified, and actually doing something with them.
Yes, even if it feels scary, even if we're not sure what the outcome will be.
Okay, that's both terrifying and exciting at the same time.
It is. It's like an adventure.
It is. It's like we're being invited to participate in this grand adventure of self-discovery.
And a destination is still unfolding.
Exactly. And that makes me think, what if we get it wrong? What if we think we're on the right track, but then realize we've veered off course? Does the sermon address that possibility?
It does. It acknowledges that our understanding of our purpose will likely evolve over time.
So it's not about finding this one perfect answer that never changes.
No, it's about being open to the process of growth and allowing God to continue shaping our path as we go.
So being flexible, being willing to adapt.
Exactly. And sometimes the detours are just as important as the main road. They teach us resilience, they teach us flexibility, they teach us the importance of staying connected to our inner compass.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. We started with this big, almost abstract idea of prophetic destiny, and we've ended up with a toolkit full of practical ways to actually start living it out.
It's been quite a journey.
It has, it really has. This sermon reminds us that we're not just aimlessly drifting through life. We each have a unique and meaningful role to play.
We do.
And by embracing this journey of discovering that purpose, we can step into a life that's filled with intention, fulfillment, and I think most importantly, with joy.
I agree. The joy of knowing that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder your own journey of uncovering your prophetic destiny. Remember, it's an ongoing adventure, so embrace the process, seek guidance, trust your intuition, and keep diving deep. Until next time.